It started with an act of kindness. A journey filled with hope and promise. A humble guerrilla set off to find vast fortunes and adventures, only to be met with extreme adversity. At seemingly every opportunity, the server would descend onto us like vultures and set us back, while simultaneously denying us the release of revenge as every enemy slipped right through our fingers. But just as we were burdened with hardship, beneath every act of suffering was a reward. Forgotten bases, abandoned body vaults, loot beyond measure, just barely keeping us in the game and rewarding us for our perseverance. So we rebuilt, we fortified, and recovered. We replaced everything we had lost and then some, built one of the most secure bases on the server, and set our eyes to the future. The goal we had from the beginning. One way or another, this journey would come to an end, and Guerrilla would earn a much-needed rest. I feel great today, guys. I got the first full night of sleep I've gotten in like 2 months. It's not even just Conan in the way, I just sleep like shit normally. So when you throw the schedule in there, but with the base done, that thick ass base done, I slept like a baby. It's like I'd finally succeeded in achieving some level of security. It's not even that I don't think people can afford to raid me. It's that this server, I've got a pretty good feel for this server by now. This server's filled with the types of people who will only raid easy raids. I saw Los Turcos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they fought admirals a little bit ago. And from what I could tell, admirals, big surprise, were garbage. They got the shit packed in. Turns out the big bad alphas that can only maintain their power with extreme numbers and poop-socking hours, not that good at the game. Big surprise. So I'm not super worried about being raided anymore. I think, given what we've seen on the server so far, all that's going to happen is people are going to find my base, they're going to think, like zoinks, this takes some actual effort, and they're going to move on until they can find a sandstone base. So we're in the clear. I'm starting to shake off the rust too. It's been, I think I mentioned it before, but I play this game like once or twice a year because I wind up taking long-ass breaks. For whatever reason, this playthrough, it's been taking me forever to get into the swing of things, but I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. I'm reaching critical mass. Only a matter of time now, boys. As we near the end of our playthrough, it seems only right that we remodel this base. I no longer need most of these benches. This is no longer a place where men live and do business. This is a god factory. So I'm going to put a couple wheels in here and a couple extra refrigerators. And then everything else is only what I need at the time. We're going full efficiency mode now, boys. And yes, for the 3 of you that have noticed, I have some tasteful yellow radium torches around the base. I know. How does a PvPer like me get such phenomenal taste? I don't know, what can I say? I'm gifted. Meanwhile, the PvEers in the chat are like, what are you talking about? You put up 2 lights, it's not impressive. Have you seen the exterior of this base? Any decoration whatsoever is kind of impressive by comparison. Okay, let me have this, okay? You love to see it. I'm having a lot of good luck with the Archpriests on this server. Granted, I lost most of them a little while ago, but we're rebuilding our stores. The fridges are starting to fill up. I got 2 good wheels. This is looking nice. This is the grimy side of not having doors. It's a bit of a hassle to get back inside the base, but this is the price of security. If you want to sleep at night, this is what you gotta do. Bam. Easy. I gotta tell you, having the thrall cooking at home makes it feel extra safe. I feel like I already own it. And so we return to the wild through our unreasonably complicated network of tunnels. Other exit? Nope, other way. I know my way out of here, I promise. I swear. Can you guys even believe I forgot to put Gruul in this thing? Like, Gruul's kind of the meme for me, isn't it? I'm slipping, guys. This is crazy. These guys are just... They're so cringy. This Sarah person especially. She'll log in and all she'll say is the smiley face. Like it's some intimidating act. It's not that spooky, Sarah. Come on, we're playing a video game here. It's not that bad. Nothing happening right now is badass. We're all sweaty losers in our underwear here. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Why don't you fit? What are you colliding with? I left this area in the rat's nest specifically for an additional wheel. What? Oh, now you're just breaking my balls. There's more whatever. There's enough space in here. This game is just cock blocking me. This is ridiculous. I don't know what it is about small wheels, but they're harder to place than the bigger ones. They're so demanding. Look at this dude. Admirals are griefing this guy, ganking him on horseback like the noobs they are. They're relying on their horse crutch. He's having a rough time in the chat. In swoops Nightstar with the objectively incorrect opinion. He's not even related to what's happening. It's like, I'm being griefed. Of course you guys would grief me on horseback. Actually, if you would allow me to interject, I would dispute the claim that horses are OP. Nightstar, they're griefing him. Stop being a penis. Leave the guy alone. He's having a rough day. Who does that? Progress was moving along at an acceptable pace, and the storage boxes were starting to fill up. But an event would soon take place that would kick this entire run into high gear. While transporting some freshly grabbed thralls through the Midnight Grove, I would come face to face with just how dedicated these losers were. You fucking serious? I didn't even have time to get my recording on. These guys, not only do they camp the obelisk, but they've started to camp the Midnight Grove. I loaded in, and the two of them were just sitting in the water with their horses and thralls just waiting for me. If I lose this Zath Priest, I'm gonna be pissed. These are not easy to get on this map. Oh, not even close. I'm probably gonna drop it if I grab this. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I thought I picked the side where you could land on a thing. Fuck. That's okay. It's okay. I think we're gonna warp to the northern jungle, hopefully lose them on the way over there, and then I'll come back and see if I can find where it wound up. Thralls go all over the place when you teleport with them, so I have no idea where it's gonna be. God, that is so fucking annoying. I'm gonna look at that dude's Steam profile in a second, because the amount of time these guys dedicate to just camping teleport spots is I don't even understand it. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. It's not in the jungle. It's probably gone. I mean, if they saw it, they probably killed it or took it themselves. It's okay. We'll get another one. We'll get another one. If anything, though, this just justifies everything that's coming later. These cocksuckers have it coming. For anybody curious, I did actually get another Zath Archpriest the very next time I went to that camp, so it wasn't a huge setback. But what really wound up changing the run was when I looked at the Steam profile of the man who attacked me. Not only was he maybe the 10th person that I found on this server with a VAC bound on their account, but when I scrolled down to see his hours in-game, I'll be honest with you, I was speechless at the time. I didn't even know how to react. 150 hours in the last 2 weeks. That's 75 hours a week. Almost 2 full-time jobs worth of hours just squatting on a server with no competition, camping obelisks, and raiding sandstone. If it wasn't abundantly clear to me already, it certainly was now. This wasn't your average everyday poop socking. This was advanced poop socking. And suddenly it all started to make sense. How it was possible for them to respond to everybody on the server so quickly. How they were able to beat me to every single raid. Even when I would try to raid someone the very day that they raided me, they would show up within no time. There was no mystery after all. It's because these guys were fucking losers. And there's no other way to put it. But while these guys often camp obelisks to feel powerful and bully people off the server as some kind of power trip, I respond in the exact opposite way. In fact, that failed gank kind of did me a favor. This entire run, I had been struggling to get my head in the game, with the scheduling issues, the constant harassment, and everything else. But something about being ganked by sweaty, so-called alpha clans, filled with people who treat this game like it's their whole life, does something to me on a primal level. It instantly kicked me out of my rut and activated my inner instincts. I was reminded of why I was here and who I was. A man who lives to troll these exact kinds of people. For too long, these no-lifers had held this server hostage, pushed away its noobs, and tormented its honest players. This server was begging for a professional idiot like myself. And it was time to stop messing around. Admirals were dedicated obelisk campers, but I had been taking notes the entire time. Even if all 10 of them were online, it's a big map. They couldn't camp everything, and I had been paying attention to where they liked to camp the most. The first thing I did was move my map room network to facilitate farming less common camps, taking care to avoid their usual hotspots around Brimstone Lake, the Sinkhole, and the Emir Dungeon. It would slow my progress, but it would be guaranteed farm. As for the Archpriests themselves, I had been using midnight potions to get to my map room by Supermaru, but clearly this was no longer viable. For the majority of them, I ran them all the way home to ensure their safety. The extra time spent securing them would be well worth not having to farm them again, and it would prevent anybody from noticing my gains. At the base, I made a few adjustments, opening the floor at random locations within the tunnel network so that I could hide chests filled with loot. That way, no matter where they bombed in, there would always be enough for me to recover and retaliate, effectively making wiping me almost impossible. And the tree-based portion of the base was finished as well. That way I would have a safe place to keep my altars while they crafted the precious coins necessary for summoning gods. For all their no-lifing, admirals were not online all the time. I had made a note of when they were and were not online, and there was a small window every day where typically they would be asleep. It was only a few hours, but it was early in the day for me and lined up with my schedule, making it the perfect time to get in and farm more dense areas for favor, including the juiciest farm, the Black Galleon. This allowed me to speed up my farming immensely whenever I caught it. It was slow and steady, but I was able to stay one step ahead of them. The downside of having so many outposts is that I can check the decay timer on each one, which tells me exactly where you were and when you were there. By keeping meticulous notes, paying attention to where they were and where they were raiding, we were able to farm up quietly without raising any alarms. We didn't give anybody any ideas as to what we were up to. At this point, it was only a matter of time. Despite the weird hours, my exhaustion, and the suboptimal routes, we had quickly farmed up 5 gods, including their requisite archpriests and the materials for their altars. Today, Gorilla stands up. This is gonna be great. It's almost that day, boys, so we are gathered here today to do something a little, what some of you might consider unconventional. For me, the loot is the means to an end. I will not be enslaved by my loot. When it becomes a burden, I dispose of it. Should they catch me off guard and in some way get into this base, I don't want my enemies to make any profit off of me whatsoever. So we have gone through our loot and picked everything we don't immediately need for the coming conflict, and we will be watching it despawn. This may seem a little cruel, but the Scorched Earth policy is in place for a reason. Also, that first raid video I ever did, I distinctly remember one guy in the comments. I had dropped a bunch of loot into the water, and he was just like, "Why wouldn't you keep it? Why? Why?" So I'm kind of hoping he's watching this because annoying strangers on the internet makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So, let's watch it all disappear, boys. And there it is, boys. Freedom. This isn't just to flex on you either. The less loot I have, the easier it is for me to pick up everything I do have and run, which means they don't get anything out of me. It's a lot easier to move my shit around. So there's a method to the madness, just trust me. We're sealing up our loot now. We're doing it before the raids actually start, because if we have to move the stuff out from the inside of the base into the tunnels, it's gonna be too late, because they're gonna catch us with a god. So our loot is spread out. It's spread out enough that even if they were to bring multiple gods to this base, the chances of them getting all the loot basically zero. This base is designed to withstand multiple gods. It's actually part of the raid strategy to annoy the shit out of your attackers. And this base is... if there's one thing this base is going to be good at, it's going to be very annoying. It's the little things. Imagine they bomb all the way in there and that's all they get. We're gonna seal this up, move our bedroll out into the tunnels, because the same thing with the loot. If they got the core and get rid of the bed, then we're screwed, so we're gonna want to spawn out there, for sure. The core is empty. We just want this to be a bomb magnet. We want them to waste resources on it and get frustrated with us. That's the goal. We've returned to this base for the billionth time. We got to do some heat testing, because my raid plan. Yeah, they've expanded it a bit. The raid plan, I need to get up there is the thing. So as long as we find a hole in this heat trap, we're okay. What they're doing is they put furnaces in the walls, which increases the temperature around them. And if you get too hot, you take health damage, and you can't climb while you're taking damage. So that's heat traps in a nutshell. But it looks like it's not complete, so this side is safe. Which is music to my ears, because I need to get up there for this plan. And ideally, I'd like to find another way in, because that other way is kind of lengthy, and if they see me climbing up here, we're gonna have a rough time. If I can get in through here, then the raid's a success. The raid's basically guaranteed. Oh, stick the landing zero, come on. Come on. I can do this. This is not the hard part. This is not the hard part. Okay, we're good, we're good. For the record, people can hear you grunting and squatting out here when you fail those landings. Okay, that's okay. Okay, round 2, this time for real. Yeah. Easy raid. Easy jump. These guys are done for. They're never going to see me coming. This playthrough had been so miserable, I never thought I would reach this point. The minute I made it over that anti-climb, my raid preparations were done. We had 5 gods in the tank, hundreds of dragon powder, plenty of materials for hundreds of raid bases if we needed them. The base was ready to withstand any number of attacks, and we were ready to move. So it's probably about time I let you in on our plan. Admirals had been running a tight ship, but I was watching them like a hawk. They had maintained 100% uptime on their god protection bubble, so I had abandoned hopes of godding the core and getting away with an easy raid. It could have been done, but I was busy being put through the ringer at the time. But that didn't mean gods were off the table though. Gods are powerful force equalizers that let annoying solos like myself inflict a lot of damage against otherwise unassailable clans like this. The bubble would protect everything in its radius, but the radius didn't cover the entire base. The entirety of their ground defenses would be fair game and easy pickings. Using double jump, I could slip over the defenses and climb to the top of the pillar down the bridge, giving me a safe location to summon from. The chances of them reacting in time and killing me before I dealt my damage would be extremely unlikely, and our only goal at this point would be to inflict as much damage as possible. We had already spotted a lot of expensive honeycombing that could really use some remodeling. The core of the base would be at the top of the pillar. It had a god bubble which would block god damage as well as explosive arrows, making removing the anti-climb nearly impossible without a trebuchet. And even the anti-climb outside the protection was extensive. There was a lot keeping us from the loot, but this is only a problem if you actually care about loot. And as we've already seen, I don't. And the minute you give up your addiction to loot, a world of possibilities open up to you. See, my only goal was to cause as much pain as possible, and I didn't need to physically climb to the top of the tower and manually bomb my way in to do that. It's true that bubbles protect against arrows and gods, but they don't block trebuchets. With the right trebuchet location and enough explosives, we could hollow out the entire base without ever needing to climb into it. And doing this would be much easier if we gave up the loot. A strong raid base, the element of surprise, and a few hundred bombs will be more than enough to clear it out. But we had a problem. All of the good trebuchet spots were taken. The main bridge was of course claimed by admirals along with nearly every single pillar nearby, and the pillar across the river was owned by a different clan. We could build the world's most impractical raid tower by ourselves and fail spectacularly for the content, but I had a plan for this too. The gods that we farmed to unleash on the ground portion of their base had two functions. Firstly, to annoy the shit out of them. It seems petty, but after the first god they'll likely think, well, none of that was important anyways, we'll just rebuild, they didn't even get the main base. But then you god their honeycomb again, and the next day, and the next day. You get the idea. All the tedium and the cost of rebuilding their entire bridge over and over again, it'll get to them. And all the while, we'd be using our gods to quietly clear their land claim from the southern pillar. And the minute it was clear enough, we'd claim it. Much like how we used a series of distractions in the last raid video to claim an area we needed once in the middle of the raid, after a few gods on this main pillar, we could spam it ourselves. And once it was ours, we'd have the perfect trebuchet location. We would need to get them outside of the base for us to get away with that though, and I knew just how to do it. We had enough gods in the tank to use just a few on their outposts, and I had already figured out which ones contained the most loot and thralls, by the Sinkhole and Brimstone Lake. This was where they camped the most, so these would be the spots to hit first. And naturally, eventually, they'd be leaving their base to attack mine, which was what most of my raid strategies relied on. It's exactly what I wanted them to do. As we've already explained, this base was designed to be a bomb magnet. I wasn't kidding when I said it would cost them thousands of bombs to clear, and an immense amount of time. I already knew their response time was quick, so I could comfortably hit them first, wait for them to respond, and then while they're wasting their time on my empty base, I could clear out the land claim I need to go for their core another day. I didn't even need an ideal spot. Any functional spot would do. Gradually, we would wear them down. We'd be constantly forcing them to rebuild, raiding all of their outposts, and every time they'd strike back, they'd waste materials on my expensive base and gain nothing, only to just be hit again the next day. Wars of this kind are an endurance test more than anything, and I am a patient man. With enough gods and explosives, an eventual wipe of the main base was unlikely, but plausible. And even if we failed, they only broke a bunch of our doors after all. Giving them one massive headache, dealing with us would be more than equal payment in return. And if all we did was accomplish some light trolling, well, as it turns out, I actually love trolling. With the ultimate raid and troll plan in place, the day finally came to make our big move. I scouted that morning at 3 in the morning and made sure the base was still there. I wanted to be fully rested. I'd cleared my schedule and I was ready for a day full of shenanigans. But this truly was the worst run I've ever had in Conan, in every single possible way, and the ending to this story is no exception. Crom truly does take everything. Despite having scouted it that very morning, when I returned later that day, and the outposts are gone too. Okay. Jesus Christ. Of all the days, today, the very day that I showed up to raid them, they got banned. I had even scouted them that very morning, and in between that initial scout, and when I woke up a few hours later to do the raid, everything they had was gone. I asked around, and some people on the server said that they transferred away after getting raided, but I don't think that's the case. Understandably, at this point, I was so hungry for revenge, I would do just about anything. And so I pulled up every server indexing tool on the web. Searching for their Funcom IDs, I checked every European server, the American servers, the Brazilian servers, every server there was. Those guys were gone, and the chances of them all transferring out simultaneously to such a degree that everything they owned would decay immediately, it just doesn't happen that way. And in a way, this was justice. Everything they owned was deleted, the tyrants were gone, the server was free. A complete and total wipe of the toxic alphas. And I had nothing to do with it. Understandably upset, I returned home to try to figure out what I was gonna do. You know, man, this server can suck my dick. I'm gonna crown myself the winner anyways. Cause who's even gonna argue with me? Who's even here anymore? Right? Everybody else left. They joined the server, raided me, and then quit. Fuck them, they're gone. It's me, I win. I'm the last man standing. I didn't win because of a triumph, I win by default. Everybody else is gone. If even the alphas are gonna fucking disappear, then whatever. I'm king of the jungle. Does that really not fit? Can this server throw me a bone? Alright, king of the gorillas. I'll settle for that. Jesus Christ, you gotta take what you can get on this dog shit server, man. A dog shit end to a dog shit playthrough on a dog shit server, guys. I don't even know what to say. You know what? I'm not even surprised. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, but I'm not even surprised. Like this morning I scouted the base because I'm like, it would be just my luck if I were to go for my raid and then the day I show up they disappear. Wouldn't that just be the shit cherry on this rotten Sunday? And sure enough, like everybody else on this server, dude, they disappear just before I can get my hands on them. After all of that, the wipes, the ups, the downs, getting wiped, the rebounds, the recoveries, after all we've been through, this is the end? If I keep thinking about it, dude, I'm gonna lose it. I can't even believe that. I don't think they transferred out. I think they got banned. I believe they got raided. I just don't think they transferred out, because every single one of their clanmates would have to log in and upload their characters to get their stuff deleted, and there's no way. There's just no way. There's no way a bunch of guys that spend 80 hours a week playing this game would just delete their entire base after a single raid. There's no way. I drag my sorry carcass out of the pit so many times, and I hang on by a thread. What can you do, though, huh? Jesus Christ. I always heard that European servers are more competitive, and if your definition of competitive is everybody joins the server, raids a sandstone base, and then quits, then yeah, it was super competitive. But if your definition of competitive has anything to do with the word competitive, then no. No, I would not say this was very competitive. This was the most... I don't want to write off all European servers, because this is the only one I've ever been on, but holy smokes. Dudes make it sound like European servers it's the land of milk and honey. It's all like perfect PvP. Gosh, if you can deal with the ping, man... Goodbye and good fucking riddance. I can't wait to be off of this server. It's not the ending anybody was hoping for. I was genuinely considering not uploading this playthrough at all, but if I only ever showed you guys the good playthroughs, I'd only upload once every 3 years. If you think about it, I spent an entire month on a server, went on half a raid, and that's basically it. So if I made this playthrough at all palatable for you, then I'll consider that a win of my own. Hopefully the next playthrough will be a little more interesting. Not that the bar is set very high at the moment. Thanks everybody for sticking around till the end. And don't worry, it wasn't a complete waste of time, after all. I've now got access to a body that has 3 complete gods on it, along with a full starter kit of tools and other resources. So the next time we decide to subject ourselves to this game, we should at least have a little bit of a head start. Thanks for watching, everybody.